I'm Rosy Hardy. This is Rosy Hardy Gardening. This is just a quick guide for beginners on how to look after your plants once they have been planted. So how are you going to be doing the watering and what should you be doing in the way of feeding? So let's start with watering. A lot of people will have watering cans or hoses which they try and use and they sprinkle over the top using a rose on the top. I'm not a fan of a rose first going over the top of plant material, mainly because the water just sprays everywhere and you can't direct where your water needs to go. Your water needs to go directly onto the plant material itself so that you can direct with the nozzle straight down into the crown of the individual plant, creating a puddle right the way through where the plant requires the water, rather than wasting the water by putting it over the top with a rose. Other ways you can do it, if you haven't got, or if it's very, very dry, you can grab a bucket of water, especially one which has got a nozzle on it, and you can just literally pour it in there. So if you're using wastewater, maybe from the house, this is the way that you could do it. You could literally direct it down over the top and it's going down over the crown of the plant itself. So that means that you're not going to be wasting water, and you can individually, if you've got a small area, you can individually do. If you've got a hose pipe, you can take the spray off, you can have it on a slow drizzle, you can pour it down into the plant and that will work really well. Now feeding is a slightly more difficult thing. If you're growing perennials or plants for flower, or you're growing stuff for food, then you need something which is really got the correct NPK ratio. Now, N for nitrogen, P for phosphorus, K for potassium. These are the key things, and you will always see it on the back of a tub of food like this. It'll give you 4:1:6, and that is the ratio of nitrogen to phosphorus to actual potassium. The reason why the phosphorus is low on a growing plant, you're actually needing the nitrogen and the potassium because those are both key for leaf and for flower formation. You don't need a lot of phosphorus because that is for roots. So this is something to do. I always recommend something like this, a tomato feed. Tomato food is the best thing for flowering perennials in the garden. Always read the instructions on here. Do not add more than it says. It makes absolutely no difference. In fact, you can harm your plants by overfeeding them. And I reckon in a raised bed like this, if the plants have gone in and are healthy, then perhaps once a month with a reasonable feed. If you think they're starting to look a little bit yellow, then give them a top-up feed and do individual plants. Don't go over the top, broad spreading. In the spring, something like sulfate of potash, which you can get in a granular form, you can then scatter that onto the ground, onto the soil, onto whatever your growing medium is, and that will then slowly release and will be a very good starter feed. Tomato feed you use once they're starting to flower, and it will help promote the flower on your plants. But don't overfeed because plants can get very leggy and then you have to start staking and doing all of that sort of stuff. Thank you very much for watching, and please do subscribe to the channel.